All right, let's talk Wi-Fi. Have you ever flipped over your router, seen something like 802.11x, and just thought, what in the world is that? Well, you're not alone. Today, we are going to finally decode that alphabet soup. We're going to take a trip through the different generations of Wi-Fi to see how we got from painfully slow wireless to the crazy fast world we have today. Now, before we get started, just a quick heads up, this is the second part of a deep dive 10-part series. All the info we're covering today comes from a really comprehensive report on Wi-Fi and Bluetooth by the pros over at RFI Detectives, who are part of Virtualization Options LLC. For this explainer, we're focusing specifically on the incredible story of how Wi-Fi standards have evolved. Okay, so you see Wi-Fi 4, Wi-Fi 5, Wi-Fi 6, that's simple enough. But then you also see 802.11n, AC, AX. It kind of feels like they're trying to confuse us, right? Well, the good news is there's a logic to the madness, and by the end of this, you'll know exactly what each one of these big leaps actually brought to the table. So here's how we're going to break it all down. We're going to look at Wi-Fi's journey through three major phases. First, we'll cover the Genesis era, the early days of just trying to make the stuff work. Then we dive into the speed era, which was all about that relentless chase for more and more speed. After that, we hit the efficiency era, where things get really smart. And finally, we'll look at where this is all going, from just pure speed to real intelligence. So let's rewind all the way to the beginning. The Genesis era. Long before we were binge-watching shows or video calling from a cafe, the engineers had a much bigger problem to solve. How do you just get data from here to there through the air without it constantly breaking? The very first standard back in '97 was crawling at just 2 megabits per second. But then, 1999, that was the year it all changed. 802.11b came out, giving us 11 megabits per second, and that was the one that made Wi-Fi explode. Suddenly, it was in coffee shops, airports, everywhere. Now, what's interesting is that at the same time, there was a much faster option, 802.11a, but it was just too expensive. It wasn't until 2003, with 802.11g, that we finally got that 54 megabit speed on the cheap, common 2.4 gigahertz band. And that whole situation introduces a fundamental trade-off that is still with us today. The 2.4 gigahertz band, it has great range, goes through walls pretty well, but it is incredibly crowded. Your microwave oven, your neighbor's Bluetooth speakers, your cordless phone, they are all screaming in the exact same space. The 5 gigahertz band, on the other hand, has a shorter range, but it gives you way more speed and a ton more channels, which means a much cleaner, less interrupted signal. This image really nails the concept. Think of the 2.4 gigahertz band as a city highway stuck in rush hour traffic. Yeah, there are lots of lanes, but nobody's moving very fast. 5 gigahertz, that's the wide-open German Autobahn. Way fewer cars, much higher speed limit. It's the perfect way to visualize that constant battle between range and congestion. All right, so Wi-Fi works. Now what? The next demand was obvious. Make it faster. I mean, with YouTube and Netflix taking off, and every home suddenly filling up with laptops and phones, 54 megabits per second just wasn't going to cut it. The race for raw speed was on. And the absolute game changer for this era was a technology called MIMO, that stands for Multiple Input, Multiple Output. And the idea is just brilliant. Instead of sending one stream of data, MIMO uses multiple antennas to send and receive several different streams all at the same time over the same frequency. It's kind of like being able to hold 4 completely separate conversations in a busy room at once and not get a single one mixed up. And this right here, this is what MIMO looks like in the real world. You ever wonder why your router suddenly sprouted all those antennas? That's it. That's MIMO. Every single one of those is juggling a different stream of data, which is what multiplies your potential speed. It's the most obvious sign of this huge leap forward in Wi-Fi technology. So just how big of a leap are we talking about? Well, let's set our baseline. Remember the old 802.11g standard? It topped out at 54 megabits per second. Fine for browsing the web back then, but it would absolutely choke trying to stream a 4K movie today. Okay, now look at this jump. With 802.11n, what we now simply call Wi-Fi 4, the arrival of MIMO boosted that top speed all the way to 600 megabits per second. That's more than a 10 times increase. All of a sudden, streaming HD video over Wi-Fi wasn't just a dream, it was the new normal. But of course, they didn't stop there. Next came 802.11 AC, or Wi-Fi 5, and it just blew the doors off everything, pushing speeds into the gigabits. With a theoretical max of 3.5 gigabits per second, this is the standard that really powered our modern connected homes, handling 4K streaming, intense online gaming, and a dozen smart devices all at once without breaking a sweat. So Wi-Fi is now insanely fast. Awesome. But that created a whole new kind of problem. What happens when you're in a crowded apartment building or a stadium or an office with hundreds of devices all screaming for attention at the same time? This brings us into the modern age, the efficiency era. The focus shifted from just being fast to being smart. This quote from the source material just nails the new way of thinking. With Wi-Fi 6, the goal wasn't just about hitting from crazy top speed for one device in an empty lab. No, the new goal was to raise the average speed for every single person in a crowded, messy, real-world environment. And the magic that makes this happen is called OFDMA. It's a mouthful, I know, Orthogonal Frequency Division Multiple Access, but the concept is actually pretty simple. It lets a Wi-Fi channel get split up into tiny little sub-channels so the router can talk to a bunch of different devices at the exact same time. The best analogy? It's like a delivery truck that can now carry packages for 10 different houses on one single trip. So here's that truck analogy in action. Before Wi-Fi 6, every single bit of data, big or small, needed its own truck. That created a massive traffic jam on the airwaves. With OFDMA, the router can intelligently pack one truck full of packages for many different devices. That truck makes one super efficient trip, dropping everything off at once. The result? Way less congestion and way less waiting around for everybody on the network. And this whole efficiency idea got an even bigger turbo boost with Wi-Fi 6E. This standard did something truly historic. It opened up a brand new, enormous frequency band at 6 gigahertz. This is like building a massive, pristine, multi-lane superhighway right next to the old, crowded roads. And it's completely free of all the old traffic and interference. And that brings us right up to today, to the cutting-edge Wi-Fi 7. This isn't science fiction anymore. It's actually here. And it takes all the lessons from the previous eras, the reliability, the raw speed, the smart efficiency, and combines them to do something totally new. The star of the show for Wi-Fi 7 is MLO, which stands for Multi-Link Operation. And this changes everything. For the very first time, your phone or your laptop can connect to your router using the 2.4, the 5, and the 6 gigahertz bands all at the same time, basically bonding them together into one giant, incredibly reliable connection. So what does that actually do for you? Well, first, you get more speed because you're literally adding all the different highways together. You get less lag because the system is smart enough to send your most important data over whichever band is fastest at that exact millisecond. And you get much better reliability. If one band suddenly gets a blast of interference, your connection doesn't even flicker. It just keeps going on the other bands. So when you step back, you can really see the journey. We went from the simple, desperate goal of just making wireless connections work to a flat-out obsession with speed, and now to this new era of building intelligent, adaptable, and multi-layered networks. It's been a clear evolution from just raw power to sophisticated brains. And that leaves us with a really interesting thought. For a lot of us, our Wi-Fi is already faster than the actual internet pipe coming into our house. So maybe the race for pure speed is finally winding down. Maybe the next big frontier for Wi-Fi isn't just about adding more megabits, but about making our wireless world smarter, more reliable, and more secure than we ever thought possible. Thanks for joining me.